Hi and welcome back to another video of jPlay. I am Marcus, and as you can see today it's again all about Grand Austria Hotel. I did an unboxing very recently, and while going through the solo rules I asked some of my patrons, some of my other channel members and whatnot, and it seems there is some interest for seeing me playing against the solo deck. And here I am basically playing against Leopold because I decided to go with a very minimal setup for the solo game here. So I'm not using any of the modules just yet because I have no clue how I will do. I will also play on the easy mode of that AI deck, which means we are going to ignore all instructions on those cards that have this golden dual frame around those and the single silver frame around those things. I'm really not very good at this game. I was just beaten by my wife the other day, and yeah, it was really sad to see how poor I was doing. Though that's why I really want to focus on the easy mode. Yes, you are seeing German instructions here, but fear not, the game for the most part is really language independent. Yes, all the descriptions for those personnel cards and whatnot, they are in German in the rules, but again, if you have the English rules, then you will be totally fine. I have already prepared everything, I believe, for the solo game. Again, I will explain some of the intricacies of the solo play as soon as I start playing. But again, before I get started, I want to welcome a new patron on my channel, Ralph. Thanks so much for supporting me. Really do appreciate it a lot. Of course, this is true for all of my patrons out there, so a huge shout out to everyone else here. I'm not so sure if Ralph would be watching this kind of videos. As far as I understand, he's not that kind of a Euro player, more interested in my more thematic playthroughs, but that's fine. Maybe I will give him another shout out in one of my more thematic games in the near future. Yeah, so pretty much those are the guest cards that are out here. The AI player, so I will call him now Leopold, is not going to draft any of those. I did already, and I decided to go with this nobleman here, and yeah, he would bring us another or 3 Emperor points and would also allow us to play a personnel card for a discount of 1. He only comes with 1 victory point, but that's okay, I guess. Here I'm really more interested in seeing one of those effects, or both of those, obviously. I already prepared 3 of my rooms, something that Leopold doesn't do. He gets his rooms anyway, fully prepared when he needs it. And I'm playing on the day side of a random board here, and this is pretty much my starting setup. I'm typically relatively cheap, so I decided to place all of my rooms in the ground floor here because they don't cost me anything to prepare, which means I'm still at 10 shillings here, or 10 bucks, or whatever you want to refer to those. And yeah, I'm of course using the more deluxe version of the game, and that was the whole idea. I mean, I explained this during my unboxing. In respect to personnel cards, you get to draw 10 and will keep 6 of those, and this is the selection I gathered. I was not particularly happy about all of those. There are some great cards in here, so don't get me wrong, but sometimes there are better cards. I think the one must have is this, I don't know, groundkeeper here or so, who gives you $1 or 1 shilling whenever you are more or less occupying a room. That's really huge, especially when you are able to play this fella early in the game. That's your money machine. That's what you need in this game. Money sometimes can be a little bit tough, really depends a bit on the guests you get or on the personnel you have, how many dice you can draft from the appropriate space, but I will come to that in a second. As for the preparations of Leopold, there really is not a lot to do. The only thing that you need to do is to prepare a personnel deck, but this deck consists of 5 cards and only has endgame scoring personnel, and whenever he's playing one, then he will be able to score that card by the end of the game, and that's the appropriate AI deck here. There are 2 decks in the game. I explained this into my unboxing. There is also an Elizabeth deck, who you are using when you use modules 1 and 2 from the expansion, which I'm not doing, so in this case I'm totally fine with Leopold. As mentioned, he's not preparing any room, he doesn't have any resources, no coins whatsoever. He's simply using the night standard side of a standard hotel here. I already rolled the dice I can't say I'm particularly happy with those, but here this one could be at least somewhat intriguing. But as far as I could tell, browsing through the AI deck, at least very quickly, I think Leopold will most likely go to one of those spaces here anyway. So again, I'm not sure if I will be able to maximize it. And during the first round, Leopold will be the starting player, by the way. We are also using the politics cards. Basically, you're using everything from the core game. It's only that Leopold doesn't use all those components following the normal rules. So here, whoever gets to 10 Emperor points, so that's definitely something, can score 15 points. Here, whoever has 2 rows in their hotel occupied, fully occupied that is, will score 15 points, and that's 3 rooms that have been occupied in your rooms. It's not that Leopold will automatically score those once the conditions are fulfilled. This is pretty much a trigger that is being shown on the AI cards here, but again, I will come to those. We also have those reward penalty cards, depending on how well you are doing with the Emperor track, and that's A, B, and C. This one here gives you a free room, or you can prepare a room for free anywhere in your hotel following the standard rules, or as a penalty you will lose 5 points. Then here, yeah, you will get some resources, or will lose all the resources, and that's 8 points gain or an 8 points loss. Again, depending on how well you are doing on the Emperor track. Also something which I will explain to you as I go. I did a walkthrough of Grand Austria Hotel a couple of years ago, of course only with using the core game, which was available at that time. So if you want some more closer look at how you play this game in a 2-player way, then definitely check out my other videos. I may want to link it here somewhere. Hopefully I don't miss that. And yeah, apart from that, anyway, I will explain everything as I go, so there is no rules up front here whatsoever. And yeah, I think with that being said, we can get cracking. And as mentioned, Leopold is going first, as he is the starting player, so we are drawing our very first AI card here, and let's see what it does. And typically we have 3 instructions on those cards. This tells you which guest he takes, this is the die that he takes, and this is basically 3 Emperor points. And here we have an instruction that shows a silver frame around it, which we are not triggering here because we are playing the easy mode of the game. Let's start with a guest. This one is quite easy. He will go for a red guest here, which means he will go for the major here, because it's the only rest get here. There is a, let's say, a exception rule. If he wouldn't be able to occupy a room with that guest, then he would go for another color, but in this case it's totally fine. Everything else will slide down as per the normal rules. And yeah, what he does now is to occupy a room with that guest right off the bat. So he's not placing the guest into his cafe down here, he's immediately occupying a room. And in let's say normal colors, so red, yellow and blue, he will go in a zigzag kind of fashion from left to right. In a green room he will do that slightly differently. It's definitely clearly outlined in the rules. And in this case, again, we are starting here on the first floor. We are going to the right until we meet the proper room. That's the room. He will occupy that room right away and will immediately score those 3 points here, which means he's already running away here accordingly. But that's not all, because we have some more instructions here to follow. And again, I like this one a lot. That's a very, very easy way of following logic here. There is no real decision path, workflow you have to follow. It's really simple. Start from top to the bottom, do this, do this, do this. Yes, there are some exceptions in rare cases or in edge cases, but typically it's very, or seems to be very easy to follow. Quickly, I should mention Leopold doesn't get any of those bonuses here, and he also will not score any points for completing regions on their hotel. So in this case, it's only the 3 points. The guest is out of the game for good. But again, we are not done yet. We have to deal with the next die here, and that's a question mark. And a question mark means he will go for the action that shows the most amount of dice. In this case, it's clear it's a 6, so this 6 goes onto his player order token here accordingly. If there would have been a tie, there's a tiebreaker following this hand. So from the right to the left, he would then choose the next highest one. But that's already the dice. He's not doing anything with those dice. He's just taking those away from me. He will score his points in a let's say, multitude of different ways. And then last but not least, again, as we are not going for the silver frame action here, he will simply score 1, 2, 3 emperor points. Amazing. And then we are getting rid of that card here accordingly. It goes next to his draw pile. And then, because again it's I like the player order in this game, which means in a 2-player game, whoever has this tile who goes first will be first and last in a round, and the second player in a 2-player game will be second and third, so it takes 2 turns in a row. I really like this mechanic here a lot, actually. And the first thing that we are allowed to do is to grab a guest from the display here. I mean, I need them all, right? So I would rather go for the yellow one because it doesn't come with any cost. So let's totally grab it. Maybe it was kind of, hopefully it was clear. Leopold, as he doesn't have any money whatsoever, he's not paying for any of those guests. So I didn't show that to you, but maybe that was implied. This will all slide down accordingly. Another green one. Oh, I shuffled the hell out of this deck for sure. But yeah, well, that's kind of okay for me too, but most likely also okay for Leopold. Let's place our guest into the cafe here accordingly. Oh, do I really want this? Ooh, he's a tough one, actually. 2 cake. Oh man, the wine is okay. The cake maybe... yeah, that's okay. I think we should be fine. No, I think we should be fine. So when we're triggering this guy here, the jewelry designer, we get 1 coffee and $3 or 3 shilling. I think that's okay. But then what action are we going to take? And here I have 2 interesting choices. Here we could go for 2 strudel and 1 cake, which could be important for one of our guests, actually. Because it says here you always need to take more or equal amount of strudel than you take cake in this action. By the way, I used some of the stickers to cover up these. Normally there are some cubes under it. You see that here under the wine, but as we're using the new components now, I also use the sticker that comes. I believe this was part of the normal expansion here. So in this case, again, I could go for 3 strudel because that's more or less than cake, or 2 strudel and 1 cake. Again, not the end of the world. Every resource you have at the end of the game is still a victory point. So also something worth considering. But I also want to play out my personnel cards as soon as possible. And I think that's what I'm going to do. So for my action, I'm going to hire one of my personnel cards. So I will grab this 5 here and place it here accordingly. And we still have to remember that there were 2 dice on the action when I was taking this action. That's really important because this, for this action, tells me how much discount I get for playing out a personnel card. I'm exactly allowed to play 1 card, but the amount of dice tells me what discount I get. And I guess I will go for the groundkeeper for now. Or should I go for this fella here? But this would be a waste, actually. No, let's not do that. Let's really go for the groundkeeper. I think it's the groundkeeper, and again, doesn't really matter too much. It really tells you everything you need to know. The iconography is really, really easy to follow once you have digested this. So again, we will need to spend 3 shilling for the groundkeeper here, because again, of our discount of 2. So we will lose 1, 2, 3 using that little save token here accordingly. So this again allowed us to play this groundkeeper here. As a free action, we could still bring some resources from our kitchen to our guests. And for 1 shilling, we can do that exactly 3 times. And the nobleman here, I think he really needs 3 of the resources which we have, and I guess that's what we are going to do. So we are spending 1 more shilling here. We are sending 1 strudel, 1 wine and 1 coffee to this guest over here. So we have satisfied the demands of that guest. So we will immediately score that victory point here. I will do that off camera. I mean, we are now at 1. I don't have to move over. I will have to send him to a prepared room. We have 3 prepared rooms. It needs to be a blue room, obviously. So this is up here. This room will score us 1 point at the end of the game. So also something that's worth mentioning. And last but not least, and I believe we can basically do that in any order, by the way, we get to play the bonuses. So here we also get 3 points on the Emperor track, which is really 1, 2, 3, insanely important. Keep in mind we have the politics card here. We want to reach 10 in order to claim that. That's 15 points. That's huge. We really have to start working towards it. Not sure if I will be able to do that during this very first 1 or 2 rounds, but until round 3 we really should be able to manage. That should be our plan, at least I think. And last but not least, this guest, by the way, those resources go back to the reserve. This guest allows us to play 1 personnel card from our hand for a discount of 1. And again, I'm considering how often will I do that. This gives us 1 bump each time we are preparing or occupying a blue room, and it comes for free. This one gives us 4 points every time we take a die with a value 4. And that's huge. That's really huge. On the other hand, this one here gives us an immediate 3 bumps. And I think because there is a race for this politics card, I will go for that. I will play the, I don't know. What is it? The pool attendant, it seems. Again, we get a discount of 1, which means we don't have to pay anything for that. Those 2 cards go back into our hand, basically, and this one immediately gives us an additional 1, 2, 3 Emperor points. 3 more points away. No, 4 actually, sorry, math, to secure us first place on this politics card. You can do that in any order, so if I will be able to manage this one here before that one, that's totally fine too. I get to choose the order, but right now I'm already relatively close to card number A here. Nice! This fella is no more. We are removing him from the game because we have sent him to one of our rooms. So we have 2 more tables available in our cafe. And what's occupied is occupied. Normally there is not an easy way getting rid of this other than really occupying a room with them. And everything that you still have in your cafe by the end of the game will cost you 5 victory points. That's really bad and only affects you because, again, Leopold doesn't collect any guests in his cafe. He will immediately send them to his hotel rooms. Because I was the second player, I get the 3rd action of the round here accordingly. And again, this means the first thing I'm doing is to optionally get another guest. I don't have to, this is really the piece I don't have to do. And 3 strudel, but getting strudel could be fairly easy actually. So no, I think that's okay, is it? Because if I complete this, gives me 4 quid, but I need to spend 2 in order to get him here. He would allow me to, for only 2 strudel, 0 points to play another personnel card for a discount of 1, which again is not bad. No, I will go for the green one here. Green are wild cards, by the way. They can go to any room. Everything will slide down here accordingly. Another green one. Wow, what's going on? Maybe I really should shuffle this deck once more. But again, I really did that several times. That was pretty much my pick. Then what dice I want to go with. And this piece is no longer optional. You can pass if you want, but then you also are not taking the guess for that turn. That's something where you have to wait for the other players, and this would then allow you to reroll some dice. Something that Leopold also never does actually, because again, he doesn't really care about those dice here. And I think in this case, it's very, very obvious, right? We want some strudel and also some cake. So I guess we are going for this die here. Again, these were 3. We have to take more strudel or equal to the amount of cake we get. It's an uneven number, which means we need more strudel than we need cake, but let's do that. And whenever you get new resources, you are immediately allowed to place them onto your guest cards for free. So that's amazing. So we will definitely send the strudel in here and the first cake goes in here. So this one is partially completed. This one is fully completed. Unfortunately, again, we will not score any points for this card, but it's a wild card room, so we can basically go anywhere. And I guess, does it matter? We need all of those anyway. I think I will go for the yellow room here because we could complete a section here relatively easily. So this card has been done. We get the bonus here still. We can play another personnel card for a discount of 1. And I think in this case, we will go for the washer here. We have to spend $1 now, or 1 shilling, because of the discount. So we are going down to 5 there. We are losing money very, very fast. This card is out. We have dealt with everything else. I think there is nothing. In theory, I could spend another shilling to send this cake over here, but again, that's a waste. I think this die needs to be placed here accordingly. And then, yeah, we are moving back to Leopold, who will draw his next AI card. So he will go for a blue guest here. He will yet again take this die, and we will again get, oh, and he will also work towards the politics card. So this one doesn't show any frame here, which means we are triggering both of those instructions here. Hey, I thought I was playing on easy. What's going on? Okay. Let's start with the blue guest, and in case of multiple colors out there, he will go for the guest that provides him the most victory points. That's the princess here, so he will take the princess. Therefore, he will immediately score 4 points here accordingly. It's a blue guest, so we will start closing our realms. Again, we are again starting from here, and then we'll work our way. And the next blue one would go then in here. But that's pretty much already the guest here accordingly. But yeah, as we know, we are not done yet. Let's quickly refresh. Let's see if there are other colors in there. Yes, they are. Oh yeah, ooh, he's a tasty one actually. 1 piece of cake, 1 point and 1 shilling. Yeah, that's the Magister. I think that's cool. But again, it's still the turn of Leopold. So he will take a die, but again, doesn't really matter which die he takes because I'm already out. We will go from left to right because again, there are 2 actions that have the same amount of dice. The hand shows to the right, which means we are using this die here accordingly, but that's already taken care of. He will get 2 more Emperor points, and here it really doesn't matter too much who is in the lead. In the end, yes, you will score some points depending on where you are at the end of a so-called mid-scoring round, an Emperor round, or whatever you want to call them. But ultimately, you don't want to be here on the black space. That's important. This one is okay. You don't get a bonus, but you also don't get a penalty. But again, for Leopold, it doesn't really matter because he doesn't suffer any penalties, but will also not score any bonuses from those tiles up there. Last but not least, on this card, we have to deal with the politics section here. The action set, he will look at politics card number, or C in this case, because there is not a token from him on that card yet. He will start to place his token here. The next time the C comes up, he will move in here, then the next time he will move here, and then he will move down to the first available spot. So right now this could bring him 15 points in total, and these politics cards are really huge. Most likely you will not be able to score all 3 of those. Yeah, you can, really depending a little bit on your playing style. Won't. I'm really bad at this, keep in mind, but I have no clue how soon he will deal with those. Let's see how those cards are coming out. But those were all of the actions on that card here. We have basically taken both of our actions already, which means we are moving into the next round. All of those dice are basically brought back to the central area. And of course we will roll them. I love rolling dice. Okay, that's again a very... Oh, the 4 is tasty. Oh, the 4 is incredibly tasty. Oh, 1 room. Oh, yeah, here. 2 good choices, actually. Here, not so much. 2 2s would have been amazing, actually. There are some things you can do to increase the amount of dice by 1 here virtually if you spend another shilling. But yeah, let's see about that. Like in the normal 2-player game, we are exchanging those tiles, so I will be first and last in this round, which I think is kind of good actually. But then again, I have to think about which guest I'm going to take, and I think in this case it may be rather simple. So maybe let's go for Mr. Polo here. It's basically a nice reference to another great game, by the way, because right now, yeah, now he doesn't cost us anything. So I will grab him, put him into my cafe. Again, everything will slide over. Again, another green. Are you kidding me? Oh, that's a mighty one. You can basically occupy a room that has been prepared for free, and you also get to get another Emperor point. Nice. As for more action, I have again 2 interesting choices. This one is extremely cool because this could give me, in theory, 3 Emperor points or 3 shilling, or any combination of those. And because of my washer, I will also get 4 points for that. So that's certainly worth considering. This, on the other hand, I could go for 3 strudels and complete another guest, and this would give me hell a lot of money actually, and I think that's what I'm going to do. So I will take this die here. I can go for 3 strudels. I will use the 3 strudels and we virtually place them all on the Mr. Polo here. So we have completed this guest here accordingly. Let's slide this one over, doesn't really matter where they sit. So I will now score 0 points, but 4 shillings, because we will now occupy a room. We will get an additional shilling for the groundkeeper here. Amazing. So in total we will go back to 10 shilling right off the bat. We will flip over this room here. Now I'm really in a bad shape because I'm out of rooms. That's really a bummer. Not so much for Leopold. He will send his guests directly to the rooms. I have to prepare those rooms before I'm allowed to move any more guests into my hotel. So that's really bad. Okay, this has been taken care of. We will discard it. This, I guess, is the end of my turn. So yeah, let's move over to Leopold. Let's draw the next AI card. And here I believe, and that's now me not knowing the solo game well enough, this has a silver frame. Normally he will always go for a guest and will place a guest into his room, or one of his rooms. But I think in this case we are completely ignoring this. It has a silver frame around it. I will have to play it this way. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. Then he will go for the die with a 5. Right now, there are no 5s, which means he will go to the action with the most dice, and that's really a bummer. So he will grab a 4 here totally, and then last but not least, he will go for 1, 2, 3 more Emperor points here accordingly. Wow, that's bad. Because he was second, he will also get the 3rd action of the round, which means we are grabbing the next AI card here. And I think everything is paying off now accordingly. Last turn, he didn't go for any tables. Now he will go for 2, because again, there are no silver frames. There are no frames on this card whatsoever. So wow, he's really driving me crazy. We will start with the yellow table here. There are no yellow guests out there. Which means he will go for the guest that has the most amount of victory point. In this case, that's clearly another noble here. Therefore, he will score 1, 2, 3 more points. He's already at 10. He will occupy the next blue room here accordingly. Then before he takes his next table, we will definitely refill, because the next one also doesn't show any tablecloth color. He will again go for the guest that will provide him the most victory points. The hand shows to the left. Can you see that here? So we will start from here, which means he will go for his first green guest here accordingly. Again, everything else will slide over. That's another red guest here. And for green guests, he will basically go in this order here. He will start here, will go up here, so up here, so basically this nice zigzag pattern. This is already taken, which means he will go for this yellow room up here. We will also score those points here when he places room on there. Right now, that's still okay. And then again, last but not least, and no, actually, he still has some more actions go. He will go for 1 or 6. In this case, he will go for the action that has the most dice. He will come for from the right, which means he will come for the 6. And then last but not least, he will work on this politics card here accordingly. One more step and he will complete this card, will score him 15 points. Horrible. Okay, those were his 2 actions. It's back to us. Again, I get to choose a guest. And right now, what do I want? Do I want red guests? Do I really care? I mean, this would give us 3 more personnel cards to our hand, and that's typically not a bad thing, actually. And we have money. So yeah, let's go for this green guest here. Again, we can place the green guest everywhere. Everything else will slide over here accordingly. There are really not a lot of high scoring guests on the display here. And then which die are we going to take? In theory, we could simply pass now, and the way how this works is we would then place, because everyone else, in this case only Leopold, has taken their full 2 actions, so it would be next us, or we would be next. We would remove one of those dice, put it here onto the thresh band, would re-roll all of everything else, and then this is my new display. Then I could pass again, removing another. You get the idea. I think in this case, having those 2 4s here is not terrible. On the other hand, we really need to start preparing some more rooms, but that's only a 3, and right now I'm I'm not fully ready yet to do that. To spend dollars. I mean, if there would be 2 3s here, I would totally go for that. But in this case, no, we will go for the 4. Because we are taking the 4, we are using our washer. We can use her pretty much endlessly through the end of the game. First of all, let's score those 4 points here. So hooray, we are somewhat more in the game. And then again, we get to choose in which combination we want to do this. Again, I could also spend a shilling to place a virtual die here. This would give me 3 4s, and this could be 3 emperor points. This is not enough though, so I guess I'm not doing this just yet. So I will simply take 1 4. I will totally assign those to emperor points, which brings me 1 2 spaces closer. 2 more steps and we have achieved politics card A, which could be really important actually. But I guess this is the end of my round. Again, I could still take some other free actions like sending cake to my guest, but right now let's not do that. So we will simply move into round 3. At the end of this round, we will do the emperor scoring. Right now we are still okay. We can still collect some more points. We are returning all those dice. We are replacing those turn order tokens, and I think I will do this piece still in this first video here. Yeah, let's do that. Okie dokie, let's roll those dice. Okay, that's some 2s. I need some 2s. Again, so many 1s. 4 and another only 1 3 again. This is so bad. Maybe I need to pass at some point in time, hoping for some more 3s, or maybe I really have to start spending a shilling or so. On the other hand, I also want this 4 here. Terrible. Anyway, Leopold goes first. And again, I really like the simple streamlined way in how those AI cards are being resolved. Nice. Okie dokie. So we are going for a red guest, or rather Leopold is. This is the highest scoring one, so he will go for this guest accordingly. We'll score him 1 more point. And again, we are still in row 1 here, which means he's occupying that room here accordingly. Again, all those rooms will score him at least 1 point at the end of the game. This would be 2. You get the idea. Let's reveal a new guest here on the display. Another blue one. They have to come out, but really all low scoring ones. There are cards with a value up to 7, and I don't know where those are. I'm really happy that he didn't take those away, so I would rather focus on them. Okay, but yeah, this was the guest. Then we are dealing with the die, which in this case is rather simple. He will go for the 6. Then yeah, he will play his very first end of game scoring personnel card. Again, he has 5 of those, and I imagine there are 5 cards in this deck. So this is what he gets, the mate, which pretty much gives him 1 point for each occupied room at the end of the game. All of his rooms will be occupied, so yeah, that's bad, but okay. He will score a ton more points here. Good thing is this is a golden double border here, so we are not dealing with this action here, so we have dealt with AI card, and then it's us 2 turns in a row actually. Phew, what are we going to do, or which guest are we going to take now? It's either green or red, I believe, because again we want to complete rows in our room, and spending 1 is actually okay, but we already have a guest who needs a lot of wine, and adding more wine here could be problematic. And with this guest we could also go for that. On the other hand, we could go for this guest here, but again we want to complete rows, but we need 2 rows anyway. Let's go for the green guest. I have talked myself into that. So we are moving those over here according. Oh, that's a 3-pointer at least. And then which die are we going to use? And as I have no clue if he will go for the 4s here, and I really want to score that politics card, I guess we are going for this die here. It's really not the greatest die in the world. We have to spend 1 shilling, so I will do that here off camera, down to 9 to add a virtual die in here. So that's almost like we had 2 4s here, because again we have our washer. We get 4 points for that, so that's pretty great actually. And because we had a virtual 4 on there, which means this makes it up to 2 of those. So we are using this, of course, for emperor points. We are now at a 10, which means we are scoring our very first politics card, and this gives us an immediate 15 points. So going to 1924. That was definitely a huge leap, but rest assured, Leopold will definitely score all three cards by the end of the game. At least I think. Maybe not, because again, this could be really related to the frames, yellow and silver frames, which we may not trigger in this easy mode of the game, that is. Okay, awesome. But this was a free action, placing our token here on the politics card, and we can do that multiple times, by the way. But that was, yeah, we have to take the die here, of course. It goes onto our tile. We take the third turn of the round, and this is all rubbish. Of course, again, I could go for a lot of resources here. Again, getting resources is never a bad thing. The problem really is I cannot move them into a room, and right now I could spend 1 shilling here to make this a 3. I could also go to the 6, which would then replace any other action, but there's also only 3 on there. So normally I would have totally gone for this action here, but again, it's also 1 buck and it's also 3 or 2 rooms I'm going to prepare. On the other hand, I really want to prepare rooms, and I have to do that, but 3 of those also awfully tasty. But I guess I have to start completing the rooms, otherwise this is really bad. 1 more 3 die would be amazing. Yeah, this is what I really hate and like about this game, actually. And again, I'm not really good at playing this game. So no, I think I have to go for that. So I have to spend 1 more buck, because I want, either I will go for this or will go for that. Again, doesn't really matter too much. I will go simply for this one here. And again, this is now a virtual 2 dice, which allows me to prepare 2 more rooms. And again, everything here on the ground floor is free. 1, 2, and 3 shillings each. I'm really tempted to go for this. I think that's what I want to do, because here I could complete a section, and completing section is usually also a good thing. So I will prepare 1 room here. I paid for this already. And then I will, prepare another room down here for free of charge, because again, we want some rows for this politics cards here. So 2 completed rows will also score me some points, at least 10 if Leopold goes there first. And I guess, yeah, unfortunately I don't have the proper resources here. Yes, I could spend a shilling to send this cake here, but this is not enough. Don't have a strudel or strudel and coffee here. Yeah, that's a pity, but I guess nothing I can do about it, actually. So I will have to call it around, which means Leopold is next. He will go for a blue guest. That's the highest scoring one, therefore he will score 2 more points here, accordingly, and I'm making a mess here. Blue rooms are pretty beneficial, so we are looking from here, then here, and so this room goes in here. This will score him 3 points at the end of the game. That's really nice. Let's replenish the display here. It's another yellow guest. Next he will grab the die number 2, because there is nothing here, and last but not least, he will score 1, 2, 3, 4 more points for that. You must be kidding me. Or 4 emperor points, that is. Okay, horrible. But again, nothing we can do about this. Okay, this was the end of round 3 already. So now we are checking where we are on the emperor track. Leopold will score 8 points for that, so moving up to 21. I will at least score 6 points, so going up to 30. And the next thing that we are doing is to check the number on top of this round here, which means that we are all moving 1, 2, 3 spaces back. 1, 2, 3 spaces back. And this is what we are doing before we are checking if we are in the yellows here or if we are on the black. In this case, it's only important for me. Leopold doesn't care about this. We are still in the yellow, which is good. So we have pretty much allowed ourselves to prepare room. So we are getting the bonus from that tile. If we would have been here now, nothing bad and nothing good would happen. Again, if we would be here, we would now suffer the consequences here. That's either losing a room, a prepared room, or losing 5 victory points. In this case, I can prepare a room for free. Of course, I would be best suited going for this room here. Again, we always need to prepare those room adjacent, by the way. And in this case, so we cannot simply go for this room here. We need some foundation here. So it would behoove me to go in here because it would save me $2 actually. It would also allow me to seal off another region here, which could be another shilling. On the other hand, again, we want to complete rows here. So I guess I will go for either the blue one here or the red one. Let's go for the red one. So we're at least saving us $1 or a shilling. That's at least something, though this was the reward done. So we can remove this or flip this to the other side. Doesn't really matter. We are moving into the 4th round of the game. Again, all the dice will move back. We are flipping those tokens here accordingly. And then we would roll those dice and move into the next round. But I guess I will end my playthrough for today. I should be able to complete everything with my next video, so I can definitely increase my pace here accordingly, because there's really not a lot left to explain. And again, I really like these kind of games where you have some kind of randomness in respect to the starting conditions of the game. So it gives you something and you have to make the best out of it. Something I really enjoy a big deal. Again, huge shout out to all of my patrons. I know I already did that at the start of my video, but let's do that again. Doesn't really hurt. Hope to see you soon in one of my other videos. Definitely leave in a comment, leave in some suggestions about what I should be doing next or what I shouldn't do. Really need all the help I can get here. And yeah, hope to see you soon. And until then, bye bye.